Welcome back. Been a while. So, yeah, welcome back to another episode of the No More Mr. Nice Guy. Today we're gonna do setting boundaries. Kind of your starting point or before the starting point of the No More Mr. Nice Guy series. So, what I'm going to cover today are what are boundaries? What is the difference between a healthy and unhealthy boundary? Why does it help to have boundaries? And then how to start setting boundaries, how to realize where the boundaries are. So that's it. That's the intro, right? That's what we're doing today. Now, let's look at the next part. This will be a short video, just a little bit. So, the next part, setting boundaries. Already I said what am I going to do. So, first one here is what are boundaries? So before we can go further, let's first look at and answer the question, what are boundaries? Well, boundaries are the physical and emotional limits of appropriate behavior between people. Or say that again. Boundaries are the physical and emotional limit of appropriate behavior between people. Essentially, how you act and how the other person acts with each other. So it can be physical, you can have physical boundaries, and you can have emotional boundaries or non physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, all of that, like your own personal space, things that you can agree with and things you don't agree with. Essentially, so boundaries is the drawing of a line in the sand and saying, don't step over this or dot dot dot. So you've got healthy boundaries and you have unhealthy boundaries. So let's first look at the difference between the boundaries. So first let's look at healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. So healthy boundaries are being able to say no to something when you don't like it, but at the same time is being able to accept a no, being told no on certain things. So it's a two-way street. So having a healthy boundary of you can say no, but realizing the other person also can say no. Another healthy boundary is communicating your needs and wants. Right? Nice guys tend to hide their needs, their wants. They try to be the lowest maintenance guys you can get. So sorry, there's something flying around here. So you need to be able to communicate your needs and wants, and your partner or the other person has to be able to communicate back to you. That would be a healthy boundary. Um, Respecting the other person's needs and values or their opinions, etc. This is another healthy boundary. Realizing that you are yourself and the other person is themselves, and they will have other needs, they will have other opinions, and their values might be a bit different. I'm hoping in your relationship that your values align, otherwise you're going to have a very difficult time in your relationship if you have different values and morals. So I would say that's a big component of your relationship. Make sure your values align. Not all the values have to align, but majority of them. So that was healthy boundaries. What does unhealthy boundaries look like? Let's take a look. So unhealthy boundaries, having difficulty saying no. struggling with accepting no from others. Essentially, here is if you cannot say no when you don't want to do something, that's an unhealthy boundary, which is 99.999% of nice guys. Also, when someone says no to you, you take it personally and you think there's something wrong with you. That's not healthy. So, not being able to communicate clearly or state what your needs and wants are, right? So being scared of the conflict, being scared that if I say what I really want, that all hell's gonna break loose, that's not a healthy boundary. That's not healthy at all. Here is the major one, a major one. Easily compromising yourself, your personal values, your beliefs and opinions, just to satisfy the other person. This is one that the nice guys struggle with the most, because nice guys will compromise themselves. Myself included, I did this. You would quite easily just take the back seat and not voice your opinions or voice your position on things, even if you don't agree with it, even if you think it's wrong, it doesn't align with your values, you will still just compromise it just to satisfy the other person. And being manipulative to get others to do something. Remember, nice guys can't be direct. You have to be indirect. Well, not have to be, but nice guys are. They try to get their needs and wants and everything met indirectly. So what essentially does that mean? That means they are manipulative. They try to manipulate you to get what they want, which is not healthy. So doesn't this ring a bell? Like, no, nice guys don't do any of this, right? Duh. These are all nice guy traits, and in the unhealthy boundaries, essentially. So all those traits together are unhealthy. Essentially, take anything that I've said in the healthy boundaries, and the opposite is the unhealthy. Or just take nice guys. All of those traits of nice guys, they are unhealthy boundaries. Remember, nice guys, because of their childhood experiences, they will show you how to treat them. And because of those early experiences, they will let you cross the line and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, or keep crossing it, breaking that boundary. And they basically teach you how to treat them or what they will accept. And obviously, if people can see like, oh, okay, you will accept this, no issues, it doesn't cause any problems, you're okay with it, that is how they're going to treat you, right? Okay, so that was the healthy and unhealthy boundaries. Now we're going to look at why does setting boundaries help. Well, when you have a healthy boundary or boundaries in place, you have less resentment and a more balance in your relationship and with yourself. Because remember, boundaries aren't only there for the other person, they're also there for yourself. You have your own boundaries that you should put in place. When you know a certain thing is negative for yourself, you should set a boundary. For example, if you go out drinking during the week and the next day you've got work and you show up to work hungover, just tired and you feel like crap, maybe you should set a boundary for yourself of, okay, during the week or if there's work the next day, I'm not going to go get drunk or I'm not going to drink at all. That would be a healthy boundary to set for yourself. So yeah, boundaries aren't only for other people, they're for yourself too. You have your own personal boundaries. that you shouldn't cross, that will be beneficial for you. But yeah, so it will create less resentment as well if you have boundaries in your relationship, because you'll feel less trampled over. You will feel more seen in the relationship. You'll feel that you have more power back, so you have less resentment, and you'll stop blaming other people. Because essentially, all boundaries are is to do with yourself. It's not the other person; it's you. You allow them to treat you that way. You show them that they can treat you that way, and hence they will treat you that way. So let's take a look at the next one. So my broken boundaries. This is just a little bit of from the exercise of the Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy. So, before we go into how to set up boundaries, I wanted to identify a little bit, there's just a little viewpoint of the boundaries that have been broken or pushed in my life. Not all of them, but just a little bit of them. So, I did a lot of things I didn't want to in the past because of these boundaries, letting people break my boundaries or having unhealthy boundaries. Um, but since starting this journey about 5 years ago, I don't break as many boundaries as before. Again, it's still a process. It's taken me 5 years to get where I am, and I'm still learning to set my boundaries and to enforce, or what boundaries to enforce, what boundaries not to enforce. Essentially, as Ryan Stone says, to choose a hill to die on. Right? When you Are you willing to die for this boundary or not? Um, then you choose if you're going to set it or not. So, because when you first start setting boundaries, most people, 99.9 of the nice guys, will set them like there's no tomorrow. Everything is like bam, boundary, 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 and that's gonna be hell, because now you got to remember all your boundaries. You got to figure out how to enforce them, and not worth it. So back to like my experiences. So I used to say yes to everything, even if I didn't want to do something, or even if it went against my values. Um, Small example: if my wife wanted to go to the market, during the week after school, um, or after work, I would really, really would not want to go. Um, I didn't want to walk in with lots of people, but I would say yes. Say yes, we can go, and then I'll just sulk and mope around and be upset, and no fun to be around, and I would just ruin the whole thing for everyone. Um, Instead of if I had just thought to myself, do I want to go? Yes, no, and just said no, that would have been better than me saying yes when I mean no, and then going try and avoid the conflict, but landing up in conflict anyway because I've upset everyone, because I'm moping around, being a little baby. So we might as well just state no, because even if you state yes and you really don't want to go, it's still gonna come out. You still can see it in your face, in your behavior. Your your passive aggressive behavior. That's how most of the time it came out for me. It was like, I would say yes, and then I'd have the passive aggressive, you're ruining everything attitude. Baby, like, not baby. How would you say? An adult tantrum. I would basically have an adult tantrum, which then ruins everything. Another boundary that broke in our relationship. It was in the beginning, um, which I don't blame my wife. I don't hold it against anything, as I understand why it was like that. So in the beginning, my wife wore clothes that I didn't agree with, and I stated it, but she wore them anyway. And again, it's my fault, because I wanted to avoid the conflict, so I just gave in. I just stopped. stating that I don't agree with it and let her do what she wanted. And she realized by herself, like, okay, these clothes aren't worth it. Um, but that's as with all things. And then another one is also, again, when we started dating, that first year, I think I've said it already, we fought a lot, every day. Um, and the one thing that always came about is I would be the first one to apologize and say sorry, and even if I didn't agree, or even if I still believed I was right and she was wrong, I would always be scared and apologize just to get out of this uncomfortable situation. Even though I'm not actually sorry, even though I don't believe that I'm wrong, but just to get out of this unbearable, uncomfortable situation, or to get her into a better mood. Um, that's what I would do. I would do whatever. I would apologize. I would do whatever I could to get her out of this mood. All right, so this is a bit long one. Sorry. So let's go to the next one. Well, not sorry, but anyway, starting point. Okay, so the starting point, the first step or steps you need to take before you even think about setting a boundary. Before you can even start thinking about setting a boundary, first you need to see how much you let others cross over that line or push you back. So the first step is to take a look inside. This is, as Dr. Robert Glover says, do you say yes when you want to say no? These are questions you can ask yourself and answer. Do you do things just to avoid the conflict? Do you stop doing things because it might upset the other person or get them upset at you? Do you keep taking things, and this one I've seen a few times, myself included and some other people. Do you keep taking things or situations that are killing you inside and hoping it will just go away? This is a massive one that people are doing. Um, then it's like, okay, so these are your questions. You take it and you look at it during a week. Take a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, and don't worry about setting boundaries here. First, identify. So start here. Grab your journal. Write down your observations through the week. Answer these questions every day. Look at it. Every time you feel uncomfortable, ask yourself these questions. Do you stop doing things because it might upset the other person? Did you do this because you were afraid of the conflict? You know, do you do something just to avoid conflict, or do you say yes when you want to do it, no when you don't? Look at that. Look at the boundaries that you have, the situations that you are in, and just look where you are. Identify where your boundaries are, what you want and won't want. So, for example, if I come home and I really just want to sit, maybe have a cup of coffee and do nothing. Oh, so I got obligations, so I can't do that. But let's say no kids, nothing like that. You come home and that's what you want to do. You want to just sit quietly, have a cup of coffee, wind down a bit from the day's work. But then your wife or girlfriend or whatever comes and says like, no, I want to go do this and this and this and this and this and this. But firstly, you won't die if it's not done that specific day. There's no deadline on it. If it's food, you've got food. It's just a fun outing for her. Do you want to go? Ask yourself, do you want to go? Yes or no? If the answer is no, that's a boundary. Like, okay, no, I don't want to go. Get comfortable saying no. Yes, there'll be a bit of discomfort in the beginning, but you will have your boundaries set and you'll have less resentment and a more balanced relationship. You first have to see where your boundaries are. So that is it. That is your starting point to find your boundaries and start setting boundaries. So that's it for this video. Thanks for joining. Let me know what you think down below. And get to it. Do the actual activity. Cheers. Thanks for watching.